The bustling streets of Lagos echoed with the sounds of uniformed schoolgirls making their way home from classes. Among them walked Jessica Adebayo, a 17-year-old student of St. Catherine's Girls' Secondary School, one of the most prestigious institutions in the city. Her crisp blue and white uniform marked her as a member of the elite school, where she pursued her dream of becoming a nurse. That fateful afternoon in September would forever change the course of her life. As she waited at the bus stop, a sleek black Toyota pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, revealing a handsome young man with a charming smile. "Hello, beautiful. Can I offer you a ride home?" he asked, his voice smooth as honey. Jessica clutched her books tighter to her chest, remembering her mother's warnings about strangers. "No, thank you. I'll wait for the bus." But the young man was persistent. "I'm Kelvin," he introduced himself. "I've seen you walking this route before. You attend St. Catherine's, right? I'm a final year student at Unilag. I promise I'm not dangerous. Just want to help a beautiful girl get home safely." Something about his gentle demeanor and well-spoken manner made Jessica lower her guard slightly. Still, she declined the ride but agreed to take his phone number. That was how it began, a seemingly innocent exchange that would spiral into a life-altering sequence of events. Over the next few months, Kelvin proved himself to be unlike any other admirer Jessica had encountered. Where local boys her age could barely afford to buy lunch, Kelvin showed up with expensive gifts, a new iPhone, designer handbags, and even a laptop she desperately needed for her studies. Her friends at school swooned over the stories of his romantic gestures. "Jessica, you're so lucky," her best friend Chioma would exclaim. "He's handsome, educated, and generous. What more could you want?" But Jessica remained cautious. When Kelvin finally asked her to be his girlfriend, she refused. "I'm focused on my studies," she told him firmly. "And besides, I've made a promise to myself and my God. No intimacy before marriage." Kelvin's persistence, however, was relentless. Every day brought new gifts, sweet messages, and promises of undying love. "I respect your values," he would say. "I just want to be part of your life. We don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with." After 3 months of his devoted pursuit, Jessica finally agreed to be his girlfriend. The happiness in her heart overshadowed the small voice of caution in her mind. She laid down her conditions clearly. "I will not compromise my values. No sex before marriage. If you truly love me, you'll wait." Kelvin agreed readily, and for a while, everything seemed perfect. Jessica's grades remained excellent, and she was on track to achieve her dream of studying nursing at university. Her parents, though strict, allowed her to see Kelvin occasionally, impressed by his respectful demeanor and university education. As February approached, the atmosphere at St. Catherine's buzzed with Valentine's Day excitement. Girls whispered about their plans and expected gifts. Jessica tried to ignore the mounting pressure as her classmates discussed their romantic intentions. A week before Valentine's Day, Kelvin took Jessica to an expensive restaurant in Victoria Island. Over a meal that cost more than her father's weekly salary, he posed the question that would change everything. "What do you want for Valentine's Day, my love?" Jessica smiled shyly. "Anything from your heart will be perfect." "And what if I told you what I want?" Kelvin's voice dropped lower, more intimate. "I want to show you how much I love you, completely." Jessica's heart raced as she understood his meaning. "Kelvin, you know my stance on that. I won't compromise." But Kelvin had prepared his arguments well. "Jessica, we've been together for months now. I've respected your boundaries, shown you nothing but love. Don't you trust me? Don't you love me?" The next week became a blur of emotional manipulation and sweet promises. Kelvin's messages alternated between professions of undying love and subtle hints that she might lose him if she didn't prove her love. Her friends, influenced by modern Lagos culture, told her she was being old-fashioned. "Girls these days don't wait for marriage," Chioma advised. "You might lose him to someone else who will give him what he wants." The pressure mounted until February 14th arrived. Jessica told her parents she was attending a Valentine's Day program at church. Instead, she found herself at Kelvin's apartment in Lekki, her heart pounding with fear and anticipation. The apartment was decorated with red roses and scented candles. Soft music played in the background. Kelvin had prepared everything to make it seem romantic, special, but nothing could mask the gravity of what happened next. In those moments, as her innocence was taken, Jessica felt a deep sense of loss that no amount of sweet words could erase. The physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional wound of breaking her own principles. She cried silently as she dressed afterward, but Kelvin mistook her tears for joy. "Now we're truly one," he whispered, holding her close. "I love you so much, Jessica." The weeks that followed brought a different kind of pain. The morning sickness started subtly, a queasy feeling here, unexpected fatigue there. Jessica attributed it to stress from her upcoming examinations. But her mother, with the intuition that comes from years of raising children, noticed the changes in her daughter's body. Mrs. Adebayo watched her daughter push food around her plate at dinner, noticed the subtle changes in her figure, saw the dark circles under her eyes. One morning, after Jessica rushed to the bathroom to vomit for the third time that week, she knew she could no longer ignore her suspicions. "Jessica," she said quietly, "we're going to the hospital today." The waiting room at the clinic was filled with pregnant women in various stages of their journeys. Jessica sat between them, clutching her mother's hand, praying fervently that her fears were unfounded. But the doctor's words shattered her world. "Congratulations, you're about 2 months pregnant." The silence in the consultation room was deafening. Mrs. Adebayo's grip on her daughter's hand tightened until it hurt. When they finally spoke, it was with tears and broken hearts. "Who?" her mother demanded. "Who did this to you?" Through sobs, Jessica confessed everything: meeting Kelvin, the gifts, the pressure, the Valentine's Day decision that had ruined everything. Her mother's disappointment cut deeper than any physical pain ever could. When they contacted Kelvin, his reaction revealed his true character. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said coldly. "We never had sex. She must be trying to pin someone else's pregnancy on me." His denial was absolute. The charming university student who had promised eternal love disappeared, replaced by a scared young man who blocked Jessica's number and refused to accept any responsibility. The news spread through their community like wildfire. Jessica, the bright student who had dreamed of becoming a nurse, was now marked as a fallen girl. Her father, a proud man who had sacrificed everything to send his daughter to a good school, couldn't look her in the eye for weeks. The school authorities were sympathetic but firm. Jessica would have to leave school until after delivering the baby. Her dreams of writing the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WASSCE, that year evaporated. As she packed her books away, she whispered a curse born of betrayal and pain. "Kelvin, you will never know peace. May your life be as barren as your heart. May you never know the joy of holding your own child. May poverty follow you all the days of your life until you make right what you have destroyed." The words, spoken in moments of deep anguish, carried more power than she knew. Life as a teenage mother to be in Lagos was brutal. The same streets where she had once walked proudly in her school uniform now became her workplace. With a bag of pure water sachets balanced precariously on her head, Jessica walked for hours under the scorching sun, calling out to potential customers. "Pure water. Buy your cold pure water." Her former classmates would sometimes pass by in their neat uniforms, giggling behind their hands. Some took photos of her to share on social media. The tragic fall of Jessica Adebayo, once the pride of St. Catherine's, now a common pure water hawker. The pregnancy progressed, and Jessica's belly grew larger, making her work more difficult. But she persevered, saving every naira she could for the baby's arrival. Her parents, though disappointed, stood by her. Her father worked extra shifts as a security guard, while her mother took on more clients in her small tailoring business. When labor finally began, Jessica faced it with the same determination that had kept her going through the months of shame and hardship. After 12 hours of pain, she held her son for the first time, a perfect baby boy who was the spitting image of his father. His name is Junior, she announced, looking into eyes that mirrored Kelvin's. Junior Oluwaseun Adebayo. She left off Kelvin's surname, marking her son as solely hers. Meanwhile, Kelvin's life began to take strange turns. His final year at university, which had been progressing smoothly, suddenly derailed. He was accused of cheating on his final exams, and despite his protests of innocence, he was expelled 3 months before graduation. His parents, disappointed and angry, refused to continue supporting him. Kelvin turned to learning a trade, apprenticing with an electronics dealer in Computer Village. But after 2 years of training, his shop was destroyed in a mysterious fire the day before he was to open for business. He switched to learning auto mechanics, spending 3 years mastering the trade. Yet every time he tried to establish his own workshop, something would go wrong, tools would disappear, customers would complain of inexplicable problems with the cars after he worked on them, his reputation always somehow tarnished despite his best efforts. At 30, Kelvin married Folklore, a beautiful woman from a good family. They were happy at first, but as the years passed, the joy was overshadowed by their inability to have children. They visited the best hospitals in Lagos, tried various fertility treatments, but nothing worked. After 16 years of marriage, desperate and broken, Kelvin found himself in the consultation room of Baba Araba, a renowned spiritualist in Ibadan. The old man's eyes seemed to peer into his soul as he cast his cowrie shells. "Your childlessness is not medical," Baba Araba declared. "It is spiritual. You wronged a young woman many years ago. You took her innocence and abandoned her with child. Her curse follows you like a shadow." Kelvin's heart stopped as memories of Jessica flooded back. "What can I do?" he whispered. "Find her and your son. Beg for their forgiveness. Only they can lift the curse that binds your destiny." The search for Jessica consumed the next several months of Kelvin's life. Lagos had grown enormously in 17 years, and people had scattered to different parts of the city. Finally, through a chance encounter with one of Jessica's old schoolmates, he found her. The Jessica he discovered was not the broken teenage girl he had abandoned. She had married Chief Raymond Okonkwo, a successful oil and gas entrepreneur who had seen beyond her past to love both her and Junior. She had 3 more children, lived in a beautiful mansion in Lekki Phase 1, and had eventually completed her education, though she chose to become a successful businesswoman rather than a nurse. Junior, now 17, was a striking young man who had inherited his father's looks but none of his character flaws. He was in his final year at a prestigious private school, preparing to study medicine abroad. When Kelvin arrived at the gate, he was a shadow of his former self. His clothes were worn, his car old and dented, the visible signs of the curse that had followed him for nearly 2 decades. The security guards almost turned him away, but Jessica, hearing his name, decided to face him. The meeting was held in the mansion's elaborate living room. Kelvin fell to his knees as soon as he saw Jessica, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I was young and foolish. Please forgive me. The curse, it's destroying my life. My wife and I cannot have children. Everything I touch turns to dust. Please, I beg you, lift this curse." Jessica looked at him without pity. "Do you remember how I begged you to acknowledge your child? Do you remember how I walked for miles under the sun, selling pure water while carrying your baby? Do you remember how my dreams were shattered?" Junior, standing tall beside his mother, spoke with a maturity beyond his years. "You had 17 years to find us, to make things right. You come now not because you're sorry, but because you want something. Why should we forgive you?" Kelvin remained on his knees, recounting the years of misfortune that had followed him. But his words fell on hearts hardened by years of abandonment and pain. "The curse you bear," Jessica finally said, "came from the depths of a broken heart. It was powered by the tears of a scared, pregnant teenager who had to watch her dreams crumble while you walked away. It was strengthened by every step I took selling pure water, by every taunt I endured, By every night I stayed awake wondering how I would provide for your son." She stood, straightening to her full height. "I have found happiness despite what you did to me. My son has grown into an amazing young man without your input. We don't need your apologies now, and we don't choose to forgive you." Junior nodded in agreement. "You are not my father. Chief Raymond, who raised me, loved me, and gave me his name, he is my father. Leave us in peace." And Sir Kelvin left, bearing the weight of his choices and their consequences. The curse remained unbroken, a testament to the power of a wronged woman's words and the lasting impact of one selfish decision. Years later, the story of Jessica and Kelvin became a cautionary tale in their community. Parents told it to their daughters to warn them about smooth-talking men with empty promises. Young men heard it as a warning about the consequences of abandoning their responsibilities. Jessica went on to establish a foundation helping teenage mothers complete their education and build successful lives. Her organization, Valentine's Promise, provided support, counseling, and educational opportunities to girls who found themselves in situations similar to her past. Junior graduated with honors and became a renowned pediatrician, choosing to help children as a way of healing the wounds of his own childhood. He never accepted Kelvin's attempts to connect, maintaining that family is built on love and presence, not merely blood. And Kelvin, he remained as the curse had made him, childless and struggling, living with the consequences of that Valentine's Day choice. His story became a powerful reminder that every action carries consequences, and some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. In the end, it wasn't just a story about a curse. It was a tale about choices, consequences, and the power of resilience. Jessica's journey from pure water hawker to successful businesswoman and philanthropist showed that even the darkest moments can lead to light, while Kelvin's fate demonstrated that some actions create ripples that last a lifetime. The Valentine's Day that was meant to be a celebration of love instead became a pivotal moment that shaped multiple lives, teaching lessons about trust, responsibility, and the true meaning of love, lessons that would be passed down through generations in the streets of Lagos.